Okay, so now we've come to everyone's favorite part of the course, personal hygiene. It may feel weird to talk about it, but hygiene mistakes can cause big problems with food. So how can you keep food safe? Learn the correct way to wash your hands. Yeah, you heard me right. That thing you've been doing since preschool? Washing your hands may seem like a no-brainer task, but way too many of us do it wrong. We're going to teach you how, when, and where to wash them. Also on the docket, learning how to care for your hands and fingernails before handling food, how to use gloves correctly and when to change them, what you should and shouldn't wear when handling food, where you shouldn't eat, drink, smoke, or chew gum or tobacco, and finally, what symptoms of illness you need to tell your manager about. I know, it probably seems silly to go over stuff like this, but there are good reasons. Remember those big problems I mentioned? Here's a story that will show you what I mean.
After 15 people ate at a local buffet and got sick, the health department came in and investigated. They discovered that a prep cook came back from her overseas vacation with diarrhea, vomiting, and fever. Unfortunately, she was in charge of prepping lettuce for the salad bar, and when the health department tested it, they found out that the lettuce had Shigella bacteria on it. How did this happen? Not only did the prep cook not tell her manager she was feeling sick, but she also didn't wash her hands correctly while working. Health officials think this is how the bacteria got on the lettuce.
Obviously, that prep cook shouldn't have been working if she had diarrhea and was vomiting. But those people still might not have gotten sick if she knew how to wash her hands correctly. Yes, there really is a right and a wrong way to do it.
It only takes about 20 seconds to wash your hands correctly. Start by wetting your hands and arms with running water as hot as you can comfortably stand. Next, apply enough soap to build up a good lather. Then scrub your hands and arms vigorously for 10 to 15 seconds. Yes, even your arms. And don't forget to clean under your fingernails and between your fingers. When you're finished, rinse your hands and arms thoroughly under warm running water. Then dry them using a single-use paper towel or hand dryer. Never ever use your apron or any part of your clothing to do it. Once your hands are clean, use a paper towel to turn off the faucet and to open the restroom door so you don't contaminate them again. Congratulations! You now know the right way to wash your hands. Now, let's take a look at when to do it. First off, always wash your hands before you start work. It's just a good practice to get into because you may not remember when you washed them last or what you've touched. You also need to wash them after using the restroom. Many foodborne illnesses are caused when food handlers forget to do this or do it incorrectly. Other times you should wash your hands include after touching your hair, face, body, apron, or clothing. If you're going to be handling raw meat, poultry, or seafood, you need to be doubly careful and wash your hands both before and afterward. And hopefully it's obvious that you should wash your hands after taking out garbage, sneezing, or coughing. But did you know that you also need to wash them after eating, drinking, smoking, and chewing gum or tobacco? It's true. Additional times to wash your hands include after handling money, after using chemicals that can make food unsafe, after touching service or aquatic animals, leaving the kitchen or prep area and then returning to it, before putting on gloves whenever you're starting a new task, or because you just cleared tables or bussed dirty dishes. And I'm out of breath. Wow, that's a long list. When you come right down to it, you should pretty much try to wash your hands every single time you touch anything that could possibly contaminate them, including dirty equipment, work surfaces, and cloths. Bet you never thought there was so much to hand washing, huh?
Ready to put your new hand washing knowledge to the test? Try these activities. You knew there was going to be a test, didn't you? Don't worry, it's pretty painless.
All you have to do is watch this video segment and tell us if the person washes her hands correctly. Is she doing it correctly so far? You're right. She forgot to wet her hands with water before applying the soap. Let's keep watching. Did she scrub her hands correctly? Yep, you caught it. She only scrubbed her hands for about 5 seconds, but should have done it for 10 to 15 seconds. Imagine how much more entertaining the video would have been if you got to watch her wash her hands for 10 to 15 seconds. Our hand washer has 2 strikes, but let's see if her third time is a charm. Did she dry her hands correctly? Yep, this one she nailed. After rinsing, you should dry your hands with a single-use paper towel or hand dryer. Alright, now we're going to take a look at some photos and pick the person who will need to wash their hands after they're done. That's right. The cook contaminated his hands by rubbing his eyes, so he needs to wash them before returning to work. Which person needs to wash their hands right now? Yes. Always, always, always wash your hands after using the restroom.
These days, hand antiseptics, which most people call hand sanitizers, are everywhere. And some managers and owner-operators may require you to use them before working. These hand antiseptics can be a great way to reduce pathogens. But just like with washing your hands, it only works if you use them in the right way. Click the photo and listen to how this person is using hand antiseptic. Click yes if he is using it correctly and no if he's not.
Sometimes I just don't have time to wash my hands. That's why I love hand antiseptic. It's faster and just as good.
You're absolutely right. Hand antiseptics are great, but they should never replace hand washing. What about this person?
After washing my hands, I use a hand antiseptic.
Nailed it. Hand antiseptics should only be used as extra protection after washing your hands. Okay, just one more, I promise.
My least favorite part of using hand antiseptic is waiting until it dries before touching anything, but I always do.
You got it. Start shaking those hands, because you always want to make sure hand antiseptic dries before touching anything. So by now you know how and when to wash your hands, but you still need the right tools. And that means a designated hand washing sink that's been set up correctly. Yes, you heard me right. There are specific rules about how to set up the sink where you wash your hands. Don't worry though, it's pretty straightforward. A correctly stocked hand washing sink is going to need hot and cold running water, soap, single-use paper towels or a hand dryer, and a garbage container for the used paper towels. Simple, right? If these items aren't stocked, make sure to tell your manager. Some people seem to think that hand washing sinks can be used for other needs. You know who I'm talking about. But to keep sinks safe and hygienic, they should only be used for actual hand washing. That means don't dump dirty water into them, use them to prep food, or wash dishes in them. And always make sure these sinks are easy to access. Never block them or stack them with food, equipment, or supplies.
Ready to test yourself? Click the items that must be included at a hand washing sink. Yes to the garbage can, single-use paper towel dispenser, and soap. Hand lotion and hand antiseptic are nice, but not required.
Good news. You're done with hand washing. Did you learn a thing or two? Yeah, it's surprising how many rules there are. Hey, we're still not quite through with your hands, though. I've got an important question for you. Is it okay to handle food with your bare hands? Yeah? Well, sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. You see, there are certain kinds of foods that should never be handled with bare hands. Any idea which kinds of foods can't be handled with bare hands? I would have guessed raw meat too, but it turns out you can handle it with your bare hands as long as you wash them before and afterward. The correct answer is actually the sandwich. Here's why. Ready-to-eat food, like a sandwich, will usually be eaten without any further preparation, washing, or cooking. That makes ready-to-eat food incredibly risky, because touching these items with bare hands can transfer pathogens from your hands to the food and then right into the mouths of the people eating them. In short, do not touch ready-to-eat food with bare hands. That includes things like deli meat, sandwiches, salads, and all cooked food. Of course, there are always exceptions, so ask your manager. Is it okay to handle food with your bare hands? No? It was actually kind of a trick question. You see, there are certain kinds of foods that should never be handled with bare hands. Any idea which kinds of foods can't be handled with bare hands? You guessed it, a sandwich can't be handled with bare hands. Here's why. Ready-to-eat food, like a sandwich, will usually be eaten without any further preparation, washing, or cooking. That makes ready-to-eat food incredibly risky, because touching these items with bare hands can transfer pathogens from your hands to the food and then right into the mouths of the people eating them. In short, do not touch ready-to-eat food with bare hands. That includes things like deli meat, sandwiches, salads, and all cooked food. Of course, there are always exceptions, so ask your manager. So how do you handle ready-to-eat food without contaminating it? You're right. Deli sheets, tongs, and gloves are also good choices. There are a few things to note about wearing food handling gloves. First off, make sure they're made for single use. While it may seem like a good way to save money, food handling gloves should never be washed or rinsed and then reused. And always remember to wash your hands before putting on gloves when starting a new task. Secondly, a pair of gloves should fit like, well, a pair of gloves. They shouldn't be too tight or too loose. And while gloves may not be the easiest thing to put on, you shouldn't blow into them or roll them up, even if it would make it easier. Okay, so now you should know how to put gloves on. Check. Here's a question for you. Do you know when to change your gloves? Let's say a prep cook has been wearing gloves to handle raw chicken and then needs to prep salads. Should she change her gloves? That's right. You always want to change gloves after handling raw meat, seafood, or poultry, and before handling ready-to-eat food, like the salad. There are other times when gloves should be changed. Let's take a look. Gloves should be changed as soon as they become dirty or torn. You also want to change them after finishing a task and before you begin another one. Another situation where you want to change your gloves is when you're prepping food for a guest with a food allergy. And you'll also want to do it anytime you're interrupted by something like a phone call. Next, on our hand care checklist, which does end eventually, I swear, is nail care. That's right, taking care of your nails can make food prep safer. Check out these questions for best practices. Ooh, it's not good. Is it okay to handle food if you have long fingernails? You're right, but do you know why? It's hard to keep long fingernails clean.
Ew.
So food handlers should keep their nails short and clean. Nails should also be filed because ragged fingernails are hard to clean, may hold pathogens, and can break off into food, which is gross. How about nail polish? Can you wear it when handling food? Yep, you're right. Here's why. If you wear nail polish while handling food, it can hide dirt under your nails or flake off into the food. Nasty.
Ew.
The same goes for false fingernails. They're hard to keep clean, which makes them a risk. That being said, some local regulatory authorities do allow polished or false nails if single-use gloves are worn. Check with your manager if it's something that's important to you. Now let's talk a little about infected wounds. Sorry if you're squeamish. Do you know the correct way to cover one? Almost, but there's a little more to it. That's partly correct, but there's a little more to it. If your wound is infected, it has pus in it, which may contain nasty bacteria. To keep this out of the food, you have to cover it correctly. For hand, finger, and wrist wounds, that means first using a bandage or finger cot that will prevent fluid from leaking out, then covering the whole thing with a single-use glove. Now, arm wounds must be covered completely with a bandage that will prevent fluid from leaking out, while wounds on other parts of the body must be covered with a dry, durable, tight-fitting bandage. Wearing dirty clothes or neglecting to shower before you go into work probably isn't going to go over well with customers or your boss. But there are real food safety concerns related to your appearance as well. What should you do?
Bathe daily. Dirty hair, skin, and clothing may carry pathogens that cause foodborne illness. Always wear a clean hat or other hair covering when you're prepping food or working in prep areas, and when you're working in areas that are used to clean utensils and equipment. And if you have facial hair, doesn't matter if it's a neat goatee or a wild mountain man beard, you should also wear a beard restraint. Sure, it may not be the hippest fashion accessory, but it's better than getting someone sick. When you go into work, make sure you're wearing clean clothes. That means every part of your uniform. If dirty clothing is stored at work, it must be kept away from food and prep areas. This includes dirty aprons, chef coats, and other parts of your uniform. Where should they go? Ask your manager. And while you're at it, ask about street clothes and other personal belongings, because they need to be stored away from food and food prep areas too. Finally, always remove aprons and store them correctly when leaving prep areas. For example, wearing your apron when using the restroom or taking out garbage is a big no-no. Wear jewelry on your hands or arms? Not while prepping food, you don't. Before you even get to the prep area, take it off and store it safely. Why? You can probably guess by now, jewelry can contain bacteria and other pathogens. Beyond that, you don't want to lose something valuable or meaningful because it falls off into a random customer's food. And more importantly, you don't want to cause your customer to choke. So, when handling food, never wear bracelets, watches, medical bracelets, or rings, except for a plain band. Your company may also ask you to remove other jewelry, though servers can wear jewelry if company policy allows it. Okay, I think we're done with work attire, which means quiz time. Take a look at these two people and click the one that's dressed correctly. Yep, it's all about the hat here. His customers won't have to worry about hair or pathogens in their food. Okay, how about these two? Which one is dressed correctly? Awesome, no problem here. The guy, however, forgot to take off his watch. Last one, who's dressed correctly for a trip to the bathroom? Nice. She remembered to remove her apron before heading to the restroom.
Time to talk about what you have in your mouth. Eating, drinking, smoking, and chewing gum or tobacco can make food unsafe if you're not careful. How so?
It's probably not surprising to learn that saliva contains pathogens that can cause foodborne illness. I know, it's probably starting to seem like everything can spread foodborne illness. Eating, drinking, smoking, and chewing gum or tobacco can contaminate equipment and your hands with saliva. Then there's the simple fact that cigarette butts and other items can also get into food. Grossed out yet? Only eat, drink, smoke, and chew gum or tobacco in designated areas. Never do these things in prep areas, in areas used to clean utensils and equipment, or in service areas. Depending on where you live, some regulatory authorities may allow you to drink from a covered container while in prep and dishwashing areas, but it's always best to check first. Pop quiz time again. Don't worry, the end is in sight. Click the person below who is acting safely. Got it. Smoking is acceptable as long as it's done in a designated area. The other person, however, is eating in the prep area. Germ City.
Should you work while you're sick? Depends on the symptoms, because you can potentially spread pathogens to food and equipment, and make your guests and coworkers sick.
She doesn't look good, does she? Click the photo to hear what symptoms she has, then decide whether or not she should tell a manager by clicking the yes or no buttons.
I vomited a couple of times this morning, but I feel a little better right now.
Even if she feels better now, she needs to tell the manager, because vomiting can be a sign of a foodborne illness. Yeah, she should definitely tell her manager, because vomiting can be a sign of foodborne illness. Should the manager know about whatever's happening here?
I had diarrhea all day, but it seems to be getting better.
Even if it's better, diarrhea is another symptom of foodborne illness, and the manager needs to know. Whoa, what's going on with this person's eyes? Should the manager know?
When I look in the mirror, the whites of my eyes look kind of yellow.
Yes, because yellowing of the eyes and skin is called jaundice. It's a symptom of foodborne illness, and it's a very big deal. Tell the manager. Does she need to talk to her manager?
I have a sore throat and fever. It started last night.
No question about it. Sore throat and fever at the same time should always be reported to a manager.
Ready to cheer? We're all done learning about personal hygiene. Yes, really. All that's left is to review what we've talked about so far. Then you can do a little happy dance, if you so choose, and move on to the next section. We'll start by jumping back to hand washing. How long should you scrub with soap? That's right. When you wash your hands, you need to scrub them for 10 to 15 seconds to really get them clean. Let's talk about single-use gloves. When do food handlers need to wear them? You got it. Food handlers should always wear single-use gloves when touching ready-to-eat food. What's the correct way for food handlers to maintain their fingernails? Absolutely right. Short, unpolished nails are easier to keep clean, and that can help keep food safe. Which piece of jewelry can be worn on a food handler's hand or arm? Bingo! A plain band ring is the only acceptable piece of jewelry that can be worn on the hands when handling food. When is it acceptable for food handlers to eat on the job? Ding, ding, ding! Correct. Eating only in designated areas can help keep your guests safe. Okay, we're almost done. Which symptom of illness do you need to tell your manager about? You guessed it, vomiting can be a sign of foodborne illness, so food handlers should always tell managers.